Hello there, it's aura reader Rose Rosetree with a bell that can only come from Loudoun County, Virginia, a swing county in a swing state. And I am adding information to help you with Decision 2016 by reading auras of the ticket, presidential ticket. And here I have a photo of one of those candidates for president, Donald Trump. And I'm going to be using a method of aura reading that I have described a little bit in a different YouTube called Aura Reading for Decision 2016. Now I'm just going to go ahead and start reading the set of chakra databanks that I've prepared for giving equal treatment to each of the 4 politicians I'm reading in this series of 4 YouTubes. And if you'd like to know more about this, if you'd like to learn about how to get good energetic literacy skills for yourself, I'd love to teach you or have sessions. Just go to my website, roserosetree.com. All right, so the first data bank that I'm going to research, I'll be telling you about a gift of Trump's soul for his presence in the room, and then I'll go on to read the business end for the other chakra data banks I'm researching. I haven't prepared this. I did read Donald Trump's aura in one of my books called Magnetize Money with Energetic Literacy that was published some years ago. I'm sure his aura has changed a lot since then, and this is my first time reading it since then. You'll see me doing my preparation process, and then I'll go back and forth. That's just how it works. A gift of his soul is not personal at this time, because what's going on, I can already tell thus far into the aura reading, what's going on with Donald Trump is a kind of pattern that I sometimes call extreme spiritual addiction. And before you continue laughing at the idea that Donald Trump, of all people, would be highly spiritual and have a spiritual addiction, what I mean is that sometimes people living today in the Age of Awakening, for mysterious reasons to me, do get involved in astral beings. And it's a little bit like the traditional Faustian bargain that Goethe wrote about, and others have put into operas, where somebody makes a kind of a deal with energies. In exchange for getting what they want, they will do whatever they're told to do. So these days, in the Age of Awakening, when that's going on with somebody, I will definitely be able to read the chakra data banks, but I've had experience at this, and there is no presence of Donald Trump strongly in his chakra data banks. It's maybe 2% of him, and the rest of him is being run by the entities who run him. So I didn't know if this was going on with him or not, but anyway, back to telling you about his chakra data banks, and his presence in the room. Root chakra data bank comes next, the symbolic size and quality. It fills the room precisely. That's the symbolic size. If he's talking to 500 million households, it will fill everybody's living room. And the quality to the presence is a kind of magnetic feeling of, we are the winners, we are taking over. Do you want to be part of this and be a winner too? Or do you want to be left behind and suffer the terrible things that will happen to the other people who are not in our group. Next, the root chakra data bank for financial integrity. That's a different one at the root chakra. And I'd want to know about that before voting. As an aura reader, I can, and you can find out what I discover here back soon. It's at about 4 inches for size, and the quality of the integrity is of the chosen people, the people who are aligned with Trump. He makes the decisions with them in some back room, and then he just explains it with his delightful personality. That's what the method is. It's like, we know better than you do where the resources should go so that we can have the kind of country and world that we desire. Okay, on to solar plexus chakra data bank for sharing power on presidential candidate Donald Trump. The Donald. How does the Donald share the power at the time of this photograph? It's down to about 4 inches, and the quality in here is of adamant iron control, and how central control is. Not just feeling to himself like he's in control, but saying and doing things so he stays in control. And there's a particular dynamic in here of throwing people off balance, which is the easiest way for him to stay in control, because he's the one who knocks the people out of balance, and that gives him an advantage. And it seems to me as though inherent in this fist-like grasp of power, there's a sense nobody else would be willing to be as disruptive. And so he doesn't need to worry about other people doing it to him. Okay, on to the next chakra data bank, which is the solar plexus chakra data bank for assessing choices in objective reality. What is available? How to decide. Let's find out about Trump's aura and this data bank here. This one goes out about 90 miles. It's way over functioning, unlike others that have been under functioning. And the first one, which was uncannily functioning in its size. So the way I would interpret the quality of this data bank is that the assessment is done rapidly, almost like ridiculously easily. And in terms of what he wants, what he believes, what he desires in the moment. And then there's lots of ways of dressing it up and going back and forth to make it seem as though you can think about it this way, you can think about it that way, there's this side, there's that side. It's so overwhelming, let me decide for you. Well, okay, and now let's go on to his heart chakra data bank for emotional connection to people with lower status compared to him, which would be almost everybody if it becomes America's president. It is out 1/4 of an inch. In other words, it's in shutdown. And what's so remarkable is that there isn't just the quality of being controlling and dominated by selfishness, greed, and that sort of thing. This one is ice cold. And I will say that when I research a person's aura and I find chakra data banks in the heart chakra that are ice cold. That is the single most disturbing thing that I ever find reading the aura of a human being. And I will leave it to you to figure out why you might consider this a chilling idea in anybody you knew, anybody you had to do business with, anybody who would make decisions that impacted you, anybody who would represent a country where we say, even in our money, in God we trust. This is the opposite of God. And going on over to the throat chakra data bank for communication while in a position of power. Oh, gee, can you see why I think that one might be kind of relevant? Here we go. Well, it is fascinating. It goes out as big as it can depending on whom he's with. In other words, if people start thinking, oh, I really want to understand this fully. Oh, I want to feel what he feels because he seems so confident, right, fill in the blank. It reminds me a little bit of how there can be weeds. I'm a gardener, and sometimes there will be a plant that grows so big and it just keeps putting out branches and things, and it can take over your yard if you don't cut it back. That's kind of the quality here. It's very troubling because the way that I was noticing it, it's as though there are energetic hooks in Trump's aura when it comes to communicating, where there can be a very strong influencing. We always, as human beings, we have free will. But there can be a real influencing of how people think, where something kind of like gets confused, and the more they try and make it right, the more susceptible they are to being involved in it. So it might be kind of hard for people to let go at this point if they've started to explore, that might be a really good alternative. But to the extent that I'd say people are paying attention to the ideas being communicated by Mr. Trump, there is a vulnerability that they stop thinking and start feeling, and they feel as part of this magnetic, you will be with us, we will win, you will get the good things. Those who mock us or underestimate us will suffer, and you will get to see. So now on to our next to the last chakra data bank, which will be a third eye chakra data bank, the one about connection to psychic level sources. And I am very curious what we'll find, given that I have found psychic level beings running Donald Trump. So this will be interesting. The symbolic size is out to the moon, which is kind of the signature size of strong astral experience in a chakra data bank. And the quality is more vivid and stronger than anything else I found in a chakra data bank by far. Just to give you an analogy about the quality of these tubes, these chakra data banks. The other ones I've been reading, they've been yay big. This one is like yay big, and it's really turgid, packed, solid, as if there are row upon row upon row of astral level beings teaming up with this human in order to have maximum sway over our world. And this is who's running Donald Trump. It's not any longer Donald Trump. Now, over to the Third Eye Chakra DataBank, the last one I want to read about, connection to spiritual source. And I'll preface it by saying that one of the things that I found doing lots of aura readings like those you can read at my website, roserosetree.com, I found that many people today are really not clear that there's a difference between astral or psychic level vibrational frequencies and divine vibrational frequency. One, perfection everywhere now. It is a very big deal difference. And usually when there's a big, big influence that is astral, not that all astral beings are the same, because they're not. I'll bet your guardian angel and spirit guides are very sweet. Still, there's a very big qualitative difference between any astral beings and divine beings like God, Jesus, Muhammad, Saint Germain, Buddha. There are worlds of difference. So anyway, without further ado, here we go. This is in shutdown for Donald Trump at the time of this photo, and it is approximately the size of a freckle. First time I ever encountered one that was a freckle, and in terms of the quality to it. You know how if you are looking at your skin, like on your arm, if you find some freckles or you find some spots without pigmentation that are contrasting, it's not as though normally you think, oh, behold this wondrous freckle. It's like you either disregard it or you think, well, it's a bit of a nuisance, but who cares? That's who God is to Donald Trump. Well, there it is. An aura reading of Donald Trump at the time when he's running for president. It might be quite different if he makes it as president and what happens to his aura as he continues in that way. This might be a good time for me, someone who votes in every single election, never misses an election. Time for me to say, please vote. Please vote. Vote the whole ticket. Vote what is right by your lights. And may God bless America.